The universe is abundant, and prosperity flows freely to those who understand the law of giving and receiving. There is a certain rhythm, a divine order, in the ways wealth manifests in our lives. Those who wait patiently for a paycheck, who labored diligently as employees, are often bound by limitations that are not of their own making. They exchange their time for money, and while this is a noble service, it rarely leads to the great affluence that the world holds in its invisible treasure store. The truly wealthy, the ones who step into freedom and power, understand that money is not merely earned by effort alone, but by vision, by courage, and by a willingness to take the reins of creation into their own hands. Business owners occupy a different plane of consciousness. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. They recognize that each challenge carries within it the seed of a greater reward. Employees, on the other hand, often see the world through the lens of limitation. They follow instructions, meet expectations, and their earnings are usually capped by rules established by someone else. The law of abundance does not favor timidity or the habit of waiting for permission. It responds to initiative, to inspired action, and to the faith that one can create, multiply, and expand. Those who own businesses align themselves with a principle far higher than mere labor. They align with creative expression. Every product launched, every service offered, is an extension of their imagination, their skill, and their intent. Wealth flows to them because they are channeling their inner power into the outer world. The universe responds to that power, for it is a law that energy sent forth in the form of creation returns multiplied. A business owner does not simply earn. They attract, they magnetize, they draw to themselves resources, clients, and opportunities. Their minds are attuned to prosperity, not just in thought, but in action. Employees often operate from fear. The fear of losing a job, of being replaced, or of failure. Business owners understand that fear is a barrier to abundance. They know that the creative force within is stronger than any external circumstance. They trust the invisible guidance that directs them toward profitable ventures, and they act decisively on the intuition that wealth requires bold, inspired movement. It is not luck that makes millionaires. It is alignment with divine law, the courage to step beyond comfort, and the faith that each action taken in goodwill produces a return far greater than the effort invested. To understand why most millionaires are business owners, one must see the truth clearly. The universe rewards those who create. The laws of prosperity favor those who bring something new into the world, who solve problems, and who provide value that extends beyond themselves. While employment can bring stability, it rarely brings the limitless opportunities that business ownership provides. Every enterprise, no matter how small at first, is a vehicle for manifestation. Those who dare to take charge, to invest their vision and their energy into their own creation, open themselves to a wealth that is both material and spiritual. For abundance flows where there is courage, faith, and inspired action. Creation over exchange. Millionaires focus on creating systems and value instead of trading hours for money. There is a divine law at work in the universe, a law that governs prosperity, abundance, and the flow of wealth, and it operates through creation rather than mere exchange. Most people, bound by the habit of trading their hours for money, fail to see this law in action. They are caught in a cycle of effort and reward that is limited, constrained, and ultimately finite. The employee, no matter how diligent or competent, is exchanging time for money, and the measure of wealth is tied directly to the hours they can offer. This creates a natural ceiling on income, a barrier that cannot easily be broken, because the value produced is limited by human time and capacity. To rise above this, to step into the realm where wealth multiplies freely, one must embrace the principle of creation over exchange. Creation allows energy to be sent forth into the world in such a way that it returns multiplied, and it is the recognition of this law that separates the wealthy from those who struggle. When one creates, one is acting as a channel for universal abundance. Every invention, every service, every product, every enterprise that originates from inspired thought and vision becomes a magnet for prosperity. The key difference between a business owner and an employee lies in the source of their wealth. The employee relies on conditions outside themselves: the employer, the schedule, the rules, and the limitations imposed upon them by others. The business owner, in contrast, relies on their own vision and initiative. They understand that their mind, focused with intent, is capable of generating opportunities that no external circumstance can provide. When energy is directed through creation, the universe responds, for it is a universal law that energy invested in the world returns to the one who sent it forth. Money, influence, resources, and success are drawn to those who dare to act in alignment with this creative principle. Creation over exchange requires a mindset of expansion, not limitation. It asks that one step beyond the boundaries of security, comfort, and predictability, and enter into a world where risk is the companion of reward. Fear often keeps people bound to exchanging time for money, for fear whispers that action without guaranteed reward is unwise. Yet the law of abundance does not work on the basis of guarantees. It works on the basis of faith, clarity, and inspired action. The individual who chooses creation over exchange understands that every inspired act, every contribution of value to the world, is a seed sown in the soil of opportunity. These seeds grow, not in proportion to the effort alone, but in proportion to the alignment with creative law, the power of vision, and the courage to act without hesitation. When one creates, one also multiplies influence. Unlike the employee who is confined to their personal labor, the business owner leverages systems, people, and ideas. A single product can serve hundreds, thousands, or even millions of people, creating wealth that is not dependent on physical presence or personal time. This is the secret of the millionaire mind, the understanding that value can be magnified through intelligent design and inspired effort. The employee earns for themselves alone, but the creator, the entrepreneur, creates a channel through which prosperity flows not only to themselves, but through others. Every team member, every collaborator, every satisfied client becomes part of the circuit of abundance, and wealth accumulates naturally and effortlessly when guided by vision and purpose. Creation over exchange also requires clarity of intent. To create effectively, one must first see clearly what is desired, then act in alignment with that vision, knowing that the universe supports inspired action. It is not enough to work hard. One must work with a clear and focused mind, confident that the energy directed into the world will return with multiplication. The mind of the business owner is trained to see opportunity, to recognize gaps in service, to anticipate needs before they are expressed, and to innovate solutions that others cannot conceive. In this way, creation is not merely producing goods or services, it is producing possibilities, solving problems, and bringing forth from the unseen the abundance that already exists in spiritual law. Another essential aspect of creation over exchange is the cultivation of independence. The employee's wealth is dependent upon external authority, upon someone else's evaluation of effort and contribution. The creator, however, relies on personal initiative, ingenuity, and intuition. They understand that the power to produce wealth is within themselves, and by aligning with universal principles, they access a stream of abundance that is limitless. This independence is both practical and spiritual, for it frees the individual from reliance on others for survival and opens a channel for inspired ideas to take form in tangible results. Every act of creation, no matter how small, signals to the universe a readiness to receive, a willingness to contribute, and a faith in the unseen forces that govern prosperity. Creation over exchange also transforms the relationship one has with money itself. Money ceases to be a measure of effort and becomes a reflection of value contributed. The more value one creates, the more abundant the return. This shifts the focus from scarcity to abundance, from struggle to opportunity. The business owner sees challenges not as obstacles but as invitations to create something new, to find solutions, to innovate, and to serve. In serving the needs of others, wealth is drawn naturally, for prosperity is the natural companion of usefulness and service. The employee, tied to the hour, rarely experiences this liberation, for their compensation is finite and bounded by rules beyond their control. Creation, however, has no bounds, no ceilings, and no limits except those imposed by imagination and belief. To embrace creation over exchange is to embrace a higher law, a spiritual law of giving and receiving. It is to understand that wealth is not earned through struggle alone, but through alignment with divine intelligence, through clarity of vision, through inspired action, and through courage that moves beyond the familiar. Every business, every invention, every service created from a place of inspired intention becomes a magnet for abundance. The more one creates, the more one multiplies, and the more one contributes, the more one receives. This law operates universally, silently, but powerfully, rewarding those who act in accordance with it, and leaving behind those who confine themselves to mere exchange. Freedom to multiply. Business ownership allows income to grow beyond personal limits. UNL. Ike fixed salaries. There is a law in the universe that responds to freedom, that rewards initiative, and that allows wealth to grow beyond the limitations of a single human effort. Most people remain employees, bound to fixed schedules and fixed compensation, never fully understanding that money is a form of energy that multiplies when it is allowed to flow freely. To trade hours for money is to contain the river of abundance in a narrow channel, to limit the potential of prosperity to the measure of time, and to deny oneself the joy of exponential growth. The business owner, however, understands that freedom is the key to multiplication, that when income is no longer tied to personal effort alone, it becomes a living, growing force that can expand in ways unimaginable to those who work solely for wages. The difference lies in consciousness. The employee sees money as a reward for labor. The business owner sees money as a reflection of value extended into the world and multiplied through systems, leverage, and vision. Freedom to multiply requires a shift in perspective. It requires seeing the world not as a place of limitations, but as a field of infinite opportunity. The business owner recognizes that their mind, their ideas, and their inspired action are far more powerful than their personal effort alone. Each business system, each team member, each product or service acts as a channel through which income flows, and the multiplication occurs naturally because the law of abundance favors initiative and creativity. Unlike the employee, who is confined to the hours in a day and the boundaries of a job description, the entrepreneur harnesses resources beyond themselves. They understand that the value they provide, when extended through others or through scalable systems, creates returns far greater than could be achieved by individual labor alone. This freedom is both practical and spiritual, for it aligns one with the natural flow of universal abundance. When wealth is tied to personal effort, it is limited and vulnerable. When wealth is allowed to multiply, it becomes resilient and expansive. The universe responds to the energy of creation, and each inspired action sends forth a signal that attracts resources, opportunities, and support. The business owner knows that multiplication is a principle built into the law of prosperity. Energy put into motion returns in greater measure, and the more one aligns with vision and purpose, the more opportunities appear to magnify the results. Freedom, then, is not merely the absence of restriction. It is the power to direct energy in such a way that it grows and flows beyond the confines of personal effort. To understand freedom to multiply, one must also understand leverage. Leverage is the ability to use ideas, people, time, and systems to create returns that exceed the effort invested. A single employee can produce only as much as their own labor allows, but the business owner can produce far more. Rough, intelligent application of resources. This is why most millionaires are not employees. They understand that income tied solely to personal work is finite, but income tied to systems, teams, and scalable ideas can grow endlessly. The universe does not limit the multiplication of value. It only limits the ability of those who confine themselves to narrow thinking. By embracing the freedom to multiply, the entrepreneur steps into a world where possibility is limitless, where the law of abundance is active, and where wealth flows naturally to those who align with vision and take bold, inspired action. Multiplication requires courage, for to step into freedom is to leave behind the comfort of certainty. Many remain employees because they fear instability, loss, or failure, but the universe rewards courage in proportion to faith. The business owner moves forward with confidence, trusting that every act of creation, every system built, and every opportunity embraced will return in greater measure. Fear is a barrier to multiplication, for it keeps energy stagnant and prevents inspired action. By releasing fear and embracing the law of abundance, the entrepreneur creates a field in which wealth is drawn naturally, multiplied by opportunity, and amplified through the alignment of purpose and action. Another essential element of multiplication is vision. One cannot multiply what is not clearly seen. The business owner sees beyond the limitations of the present and envisions the possibilities that others cannot yet perceive. Every product, every service, every system is an extension of that vision, and the energy of the mind, when focused with clarity and faith, attracts resources, support, and opportunities. The employee, by contrast, often operates in reaction to circumstance, following instructions rather than creating opportunities. Multiplication is reserved for those who think expansively, act decisively, and maintain unwavering faith that the universe responds to inspired effort with equal measure. Freedom to multiply also changes the perception of work itself. The business owner does not merely work to earn, they work to create, to serve, and to expand possibilities. Time becomes an ally rather than a constraint, for systems and leverage extend the reach of effort beyond personal limits. Wealth is no longer a reflection of how many hours are spent, but a reflection of how much value is contributed, how much vision is realized, and how effectively energy is directed into the world. The universe responds to this energy, returning abundance in forms that exceed expectations. Every multiplication begins in the mind, guided by clarity, purpose, and courage, and manifests in the material world through intelligent and inspired action. The principle of freedom to multiply is also a spiritual principle. Money, influence, and opportunity flow to those who are aligned with purpose and who act in harmony with universal law. Limitation exists only where doubt, fear, and hesitation are present. The business owner, aware of this law, moves with confidence, knowing that the energy of creation expands exponentially. Every system built, every team member empowered, and every product or service offered becomes a conduit for multiplied wealth. And the more one aligns with this principle, the more opportunities appear, the more resources flow, and the more prosperity grows. By embracing freedom to multiply, one steps into a life of abundance where wealth is no longer tied to personal labor, but to vision, alignment, and inspired action. The universe responds with generosity to those who dare to think expansively, act decisively, and serve others through creation. While employees may experience stability and security, the limitless flow of wealth is reserved for those who recognize that multiplication is a law, a spiritual principle, and a practical reality, and who act boldly to channel their energy, their ideas, and their vision into the world in ways that allow prosperity to expand naturally. Alignment with opportunity. Entrepreneurs recognize and act on opportunities where others see obstacles. The universe is abundant and constantly presenting opportunities to those who are prepared to recognize them. Most people move through life unaware of the doors that open and close around them, waiting for luck or circumstance to deliver prosperity. Employees often follow routines, perform assigned tasks, and accept limitations as inevitable. Seeing the world through the lens of scarcity, they miss the subtle guidance, the hints, and the signals that could lead them into expanded wealth and success. The millionaire, however, understands that wealth does not come by chance. It comes through alignment with opportunity, through awareness of the moment, and through the ability to act decisively when the universe presents a path for creation. Alignment is not passive, it is active, requiring attentiveness, courage, and the faith that unseen forces will support inspired action. Those who are aligned with opportunity recognize that the world is rich with possibilities. Every problem holds a hidden solution, every challenge carries a potential breakthrough, and every gap in the market is an invitation to create value. The business owner sees beyond the ordinary, perceives the needs of others before they are expressed, and acts quickly to meet those needs. Employees, by contrast, often wait for instructions, follow predefined processes, and rarely venture beyond the boundaries of assigned responsibility. Opportunity requires initiative, awareness, and readiness, and it responds to the energy of the mind that is alert, focused, and willing to move without hesitation. The law of abundance is active for those who are aligned, and the universe conspires to provide resources, guidance, and favorable circumstances for those who are willing to see and seize the openings that appear. Alignment with opportunity also demands discernment. Not every chance that presents itself is worthy of pursuit, and the millionaire learns to distinguish between fleeting distractions and genuine openings for growth. To act wisely, one must cultivate intuition, clarity, and the ability to sense the flow of circumstances. The business owner trusts inner guidance, understanding that the mind and spirit are instruments of perception that detect the subtle currents of opportunity. By listening, observing, and responding with confidence, The entrepreneur positions themselves to receive abundance in forms that the average employee cannot even perceive. The alignment of action with opportunity magnifies results, multiplies wealth, and transforms ordinary efforts into extraordinary outcomes. Another element of alignment is timing. Opportunity is rarely static. It flows, shifts, and changes with the currents of the world. The millionaire recognizes the importance of moving in harmony with these currents, stepping forward when the moment is ripe, and exercising patience when the time is not yet favorable. Employees often operate on fixed schedules, awaiting directives, and miss the fluidity of chance. Business owners understand that timing is an invisible force, and those who align themselves with the right moment act with confidence, knowing that the universe supports inspired initiative. To be aligned is to be attuned to this rhythm, to sense when action will be met with amplification, and when restraint will conserve energy for a more opportune moment. Alignment with opportunity also includes the ability to transform obstacles into advantages. Where an employee sees restrictions, policies, or problems, the business owner sees openings for innovation. Challenges are reframed as invitations to create, to offer solutions, and to provide value that did not exist before. This perspective allows wealth to flow, for the universe rewards creativity and vision, and those who recognize opportunities within difficulties are naturally drawn into channels of prosperity. The ability to convert obstacles into stepping stones requires a mindset that is flexible, imaginative, and unwaveringly optimistic. By seeing opportunity in every circumstance, the entrepreneur magnifies results, expands influence, and increases income in ways that those bound to routine labor cannot comprehend. Alignment also requires preparation. Opportunity often arrives suddenly, unexpectedly, and those who are unprepared cannot take full advantage of it. The millionaire prepares in advance, building skills, knowledge, and systems that allow them to act decisively. They cultivate relationships, resources, and ideas, so that when a door opens, they can walk through without hesitation. Employees often lack this proactive approach, relying on external direction and waiting for circumstances to dictate action. Preparation amplifies opportunity, and alignment is impossible without readiness. The universe favors those who invest in themselves, who learn, grow, and develop the capacity to respond when opportunity calls. Faith is another essential aspect of alignment. The business owner moves confidently even when the outcome is not yet visible, trusting that the universe supports inspired action. Opportunity is not always obvious. Sometimes it requires courage, risk, and the willingness to act beyond comfort. Employees often hesitate, constrained by fear, doubt, or concern over security. The millionaire knows that alignment with opportunity requires belief in oneself, belief in the law of abundance, and the courage to step forward into the unknown. Faith, combined with clarity and preparedness, creates a powerful attractor that draws resources, guidance, and favorable circumstances into the life of the entrepreneur. Alignment with opportunity also involves vision and the capacity to see potential where others see limitation. The business owner perceives trends, anticipates needs, and imagines solutions that will benefit many. Opportunity is recognized not simply by chance, but by the ability to envision a desired outcome and take steps to manifest it. Employees may complete tasks effectively, but they rarely extend their vision beyond immediate requirements. Those aligned with opportunity see beyond the surface, detect patterns, and act with foresight, thereby positioning themselves to multiply wealth, influence, and success. The principle of alignment with opportunity is also deeply spiritual. The universe provides openings for those whose consciousness is tuned to receive, for those who act in harmony with the laws of creation and service. Wealth and prosperity flow to those who are aware, prepared, and courageous enough to step forward. Every action aligned with a true opportunity is amplified, and every inspired choice opens the door to further growth. Those who understand this law move confidently, create boldly, and trust that abundance will follow their deliberate, thoughtful, and courageous efforts, while those who remain bound to routine labor see opportunities pass unnoticed, unaware of the invisible channels of prosperity that are open to all who align with vision and act decisively. Leveraging skills and resources. Wealth comes from multiplying talent, ideas, and resources, not solely effort. There is a principle at work in the universe that multiplies effort when it is intelligently directed. and it is the principle of leverage. Those who understand how to leverage their skills and resources step into a realm of abundance that cannot be reached through mere effort alone. Most people remain employees, bound by the limits of their own time, energy, and personal capability. They trade hours for money and are confined to the output their individual labor can produce. The business owner, however, sees beyond personal limitations. They recognize that wealth is generated not simply by working harder, but by applying what they know, what they possess, and what they can inspire in others, in ways that create exponential results. Leverage is the key to freedom, to multiplication, and to the kind of prosperity that defines millionaires, for it allows a single mind to create impact far beyond its own immediate capacity. Leverage begins with awareness of the skills one possesses. Every individual has unique talents, insights, and abilities, and the business owner trains themselves to recognize their strongest gifts. These gifts are then applied in ways that produce maximum results, often multiplied by tools, systems, or collaborators. The employee, by contrast, may possess talents as well, but they are usually limited to performing assigned duties or working within prescribed boundaries. Leverage requires seeing the potential in one's own abilities and finding ways to amplify their effect. When a person applies skill creatively, they attract resources, opportunities, and support that magnify the results of their action, transforming what would otherwise be a limited return into abundant and ongoing prosperity. Another aspect of leverage is the wise use of resources. Money, tools, connections, and knowledge can all act as multipliers when used effectively. The business owner does not hoard resources or confine them to immediate needs. They deploy them strategically, recognizing that investment in the right system, the right team, or the right idea produces results far greater than could be achieved through personal effort alone. Employees often see resources as finite or fearfully guarded, constrained by rules or limitations outside their control. The entrepreneur, however, understands that resources are drawn to those who use them with clarity of purpose, confidence, and faith in their ability to generate value. Each resource becomes a lever that extends the reach of effort and opens the door to abundance on a scale that individual labor cannot attain. Leverage also involves the collaboration and delegation of human talent. The business owner recognizes that others possess complementary skills and insights, and that wealth grows when people work together toward a shared vision. A single person, no matter how capable, cannot accomplish the scale of results possible when aligned with a skilled team. Delegation, when guided by trust and clarity of purpose, multiplies outcomes, allowing the entrepreneur to focus on areas of highest impact, while others extend the reach of effort in ways that honor their strengths. Employees, in contrast, often work in isolation or under direction, limited by what they personally can do. Leverage multiplies not only material wealth but influence, capacity, and opportunity, and it becomes a natural pathway to financial freedom and the realization of grander visions. Leverage is also enhanced through systems and processes. The business owner develops repeatable methods, procedures, and structures that allow work to continue, without constant personal oversight. Each system acts as a channel through which effort is amplified, creating returns that grow independently of time spent. Employees rarely have the authority or freedom to create systems. They are bound to procedures already in place. The entrepreneur, however, constructs frameworks that capture the value of each action and extend it, so that productivity, profit, and results multiply continuously. Systems are the invisible hands of leverage, allowing wealth to flow through organized channels, magnified by planning, foresight, and inspired application. Another important element of leverage is strategic thinking. The millionaire is not simply skilled at what they do, they are skilled at seeing the relationships between actions, resources, and outcomes. They anticipate consequences, align efforts with the highest potential, and place energy where it will generate the most significant results. Employees, by contrast, often respond to immediate needs or directions without seeing the larger pattern of opportunity. Strategic leverage requires insight, clarity, and faith in the principle that energy applied intelligently will produce multiplied results. It requires awareness of how one's skills, time, resources, and actions interact with the world, and how alignment with purpose transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary gain. Leverage also involves the understanding that contribution attracts abundance. The business owner uses their skills and resources not merely for personal gain, but to meet the needs of others, to provide solutions, and to deliver value on a scale larger than themselves. The universe responds to this energy of giving with reciprocal abundance, magnifying results and opening channels of prosperity. Employees, bound to fixed roles, rarely experience this law fully, for their work is often confined to prescribed duties rather than expansive contribution. Leverage turns personal effort into a force for greater impact, multiplying both material and spiritual rewards when skill, resources, and purpose are aligned. Leverage requires courage and faith, for it is not always easy to trust that applying effort through others, through systems, or through resources, will yield greater results than individual labor alone. Yet the universe responds to inspired and intelligent action, returning wealth in proportion to the alignment with opportunity and the courage to act boldly. The business owner steps forward with confidence, knowing that every skill applied, every resource deployed, and every system created will generate returns far beyond what personal effort alone could achieve. Leverage transforms limited time into limitless results, converts personal talent into multiplied wealth, and magnifies influence, opportunity, and freedom in ways that employees rarely experience. To master leverage is to understand the spiritual law of abundance. Energy, when applied in alignment with purpose, multiplies naturally, and the more one contributes, the more returns flow. Skill. Resources and vision become instruments of creation, each amplifying the other to produce wealth, influence, and opportunity. Employees may work diligently, but their results are constrained by rules, limitations, and the boundaries of personal effort. The business owner, through leverage, multiplies impact, multiplies income, and opens themselves to a universe of possibilities, experiencing freedom, abundance, and prosperity that reflects the intelligent application of the gifts and tools available to them. Faith in action. Millionaires trust their intuition, take inspired risks, and move boldly to manifest abundance. Faith is the invisible force that moves the unseen energies of the universe into tangible results. Most people wait for certainty, for proof before they act, and in doing so, they limit the flow of opportunity and wealth into their lives. Employees often wait for instructions, rely on predictable schedules, and expect security from external sources rather than trusting the invisible currents that guide prosperity. The business owner, however, understands that faith is not passive belief but active engagement. Faith is a conscious decision to act in alignment with the unseen laws of creation, knowing that when energy is directed with purpose, clarity, and confidence, it will return multiplied. This faith is the foundation upon which all millionaires build their empires, for without it, potential remains dormant, and opportunity goes unnoticed. Faith in a Qishan requires a mind that is attuned to possibility rather than limitation. The entrepreneur sees what others overlook, perceives opportunities in challenges, and acts decisively despite uncertainty. While the employee may fear change, loss, or failure, the business owner recognizes that fear is the opposite of faith and that hesitation obstructs the natural flow of abundance. Action grounded in faith is magnetic. It draws resources, guidance, and collaborators into alignment with the vision. The universe responds not to doubt, but to decisive, inspired movement, and those who act in faith create circumstances in which success becomes inevitable. Faith is therefore not a vague hope, but a practical tool, a principle of cause and effect, where belief combined with inspired action produces measurable results. The practice of faith in action begins with clarity of vision. One cannot act with true faith without knowing what is desired. The business owner clearly envisions goals, outcomes, and contributions, holding these images in the mind with confidence and expectation. This clarity directs action and aligns the individual with the invisible currents of abundance. Employees may perform tasks efficiently, but they rarely operate from a place of visionary faith. They follow instructions, meet quotas, and wait for direction. Faith in action transforms thought into reality, for every act inspired by clear intention is a seed sown in the field of opportunity. The stronger the faith, the more energy flows to support the growth of these seeds, and the more the universe conspires to deliver results. Faith in action also requires courage, for acting without complete certainty demands boldness. The business owner steps forward into unknown territory, trusting that the invisible law of creation is reliable, and that their inspired effort will yield results. Fear, doubt, and hesitation are barriers to abundance, and every moment spent questioning or procrastinating diminishes the power of faith. Employees, bound by routine, often remain in comfort zones, rarely confronting uncertainty. The millionaire, however, embraces the unknown as a field of infinite potential, moving confidently because they understand that every step taken in alignment with vision and purpose is supported by universal law. Faith and courage are inseparable, for action without confidence lacks energy, and confidence without action remains dormant. Another aspect of faith in action is persistence. Opportunities rarely manifest fully on the first attempt. The business owner continues to act, to adapt, and to refine strategies while maintaining trust in the unseen law of return. Every effort, even if it does not yield immediate results, contributes to the alignment of circumstances, preparing the ground for eventual success. Employees often seek immediate outcomes, discouraged when results are slow or uncertain. The millionaire knows that faith is cumulative. Each inspired action compounds, creating conditions for prosperity to flow, and patience combined with persistent effort ensures that the power of faith is realized over time. Faith in action also requires the surrender of attachment to specific outcomes. The entrepreneur trusts that the universe will deliver abundance in the most perfect form, even if it differs from initial expectations. Attachment to a predetermined result can create resistance, anxiety, and limitation, while faith rooted in trust opens the mind to possibilities that surpass imagination. Employees are often constrained by adherence to strict procedures, focusing on narrow results and external validation. The millionaire acts with intention but remains flexible, knowing that the universe may provide guidance, resources, and opportunities in ways that exceed human planning. This surrender does not diminish effort. Rather, it enhances the flow of energy and allows creative solutions to emerge that would otherwise remain hidden. Faith in action also strengthens resilience. The business owner encounters setbacks, unexpected challenges, and apparent failures, but faith transforms these experiences into lessons, adjustments, and stepping stones toward success. Employees may interpret obstacles as insurmountable barriers, but the millionaire perceives them as signals for course correction and growth. Each challenge faced with faith strengthens confidence, expands perspective, and aligns the individual more deeply with the universal law of abundance. Resilience nurtured through faith ensures that energy continues to flow, opportunities remain visible, and action remains consistent, regardless of temporary difficulties. Another critical element of faith in action is the alignment of contribution. True wealth flows most abundantly when actions serve the needs of others and provide value. The business owner acts with faith, not for personal gain alone, but to create solutions, meet demands, and uplift others through enterprise. The universe responds to this energy of service, amplifying returns and attracting opportunities that support expanded prosperity. Employees may contribute as well, but often within limits defined by external authority. The millionaire, acting in faith, aligns effort with purpose, multiplying wealth because contribution acts as a magnet for abundance. The energy of giving, when combined with decisive action, becomes a powerful multiplier, drawing success, influence, and prosperity naturally and continuously. Faith in action also requires an awareness of timing and receptivity. The entrepreneur remains alert to signals, intuitive guidance, and moments when inspired action will produce maximum results. Timing is an invisible force that works hand in hand with faith. To act too soon or too late diminishes effectiveness. Employees often lack awareness of these subtle currents, constrained by schedules and routines. The millionaire, guided by faith, acts with discernment, knowing that the alignment of intention, opportunity, and inspired movement produces outcomes far greater than effort alone could achieve. Faith tunes the mind and spirit to these rhythms, ensuring that action is always in harmony with universal law. The practice of faith in action ultimately transforms the individual. Confidence, clarity, courage, persistence, resilience, contribution, and awareness converge to create a consciousness attuned to prosperity. The business owner experiences wealth not as a struggle, but as a natural extension of alignment with opportunity, inspired effort, and the invisible laws that govern creation. Employees, while capable and diligent, rarely access this level of flow because their actions are constrained by authority, schedules, and externally imposed limitations. Faith in action is the secret of exponential growth, the unseen engine that propels wealth beyond limits, and the principle that converts vision into tangible, multiplied results.